All right, welcome everyone to Global Purpose Speaks. I'm your host, DJ Taz Rashid, and I'm a musician who travels to mindful festivals and events all throughout the world. And one of my passions is to have conversations with transformational leaders, learn about their unique missions and how they're changing the world. This talk series is created in partnership with Global Purpose Movement. This is a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in our Earth's current shift towards a world that's really working for everyone. And today we're chatting with Andrew Tanner, who I recently ran into at Yoga Journal Conference. Andrew is a leader for the yoga community in North America, and with his director position and spokesperson for Yoga Alliance. Yoga Alliance, if you haven't heard of, if you're in the yoga world, you've definitely heard of it, but it's the largest nonprofit association representing the entire yoga community. And their mission is to promote and support the integrity and diversity of the teaching of yoga in North America. I'm not sure if they're in Europe or not, but we can talk about that. But here we are to chat a little bit with Andrew Tanner today. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome, Andrew. How are you, brother?
Hey, Paz. Really good to be here.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm not the director.
I was gonna say, I hope I got your title right.
No, I think the director's name is Barbara Dauberthien. She's amazing. She's the best operations person I've ever worked with in my 15 years of being in the wellness world. But I work as the chief ambassador for Yoga Alliance. So
I think you're important. You're a chief. You're not a director, but you're a chief.
Yeah, chief. I'm a chief. And the other thing, we're actually international. We're the largest yoga association in the world.
Wow.
In the sense that we have 70,000 members, a third of which come from outside the U.S. So in many countries, we're in over 120 countries, but in many countries, we're the largest yoga association in that country.
Okay.
So U.S., Canada.
Well, people have heard of it. Let's get into it. Like, can you, in like an elevator speech, can you tell us like what exactly does Yoga Alliance do? Because I feel like me being in the yoga world as a musician, I always hear about it, but I hear a lot of different things, and and there's just sometimes like misunderstandings. I feel like with the Yoga Alliance, can you tell us all like what exactly do you guys do?
Sure. I think there's a couple misunderstandings. One, we're not the yoga police. We don't regulate yoga. In fact, we're anti-government regulation. So we're a self-regulating body, which means it's voluntary. We're a voluntary association of yoga teachers and yoga schools. We have created a standard that has become the standard that is the most widely renowned standard for yoga in the world, with the 200-hour RYT standard and then a 500-hour RYT standard. So we have a registry online, which gets about 300,000 unique visits a month.
Nice.
And this is a registry of all the teachers who are registered with us. And then we're actually a lot more than just standards. And this is kind of the big change because for the last 4 years, we added another part of our nonprofit. We used to be just a 501c3. Now we have a C6, which allows us to do lobbying. Which allows us to do member benefits, so like insurance and discounts and all kinds of things. We're like the AAA of yoga, basically.
I like AAA.
But our lobbying efforts is huge, and this is a big deal for yoga right now because as yoga becomes more popular, there's a lot more attempts by state governments and even federal governments to come in and try to regulate it and tell people,
you pay these fees and you got to do this now, and this doesn't work.
Yeah, and there's lots of fees, and on top of that, there's potential. Oh, hi, Gemma, my daughter just.
Hey, what's up? Hey, you remember me?
So the big thing that we're doing is this. Right now, we're in 5 different states. We just passed laws in Arizona, Alaska, Illinois, Colorado, Arkansas. And these are all places where the state government attempted to come in and try to, charge these small business owners anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a year just to operate.
Wow.
And in most cases, it's really, the regulation is for financial reasons. And what's great is we've been able to get bipartisan support in every state. basically Republicans don't like regulation and Democrats are doing yoga for the most part, or they know someone who does. So it's a really cool cause to be a part of.
Yeah.
So those are all little things that we do. We're also like, anytime people try to attack yoga as an industry, for example, there was a district last year, a school district in California, where a conservative group was trying to stop yoga being taught in schools, claiming that it was a violation of church and state.
Mm-hmm.
And the school did not have the financial resources to go to trial over this. But we actually supported them financially, creating an amicus brief, providing expert witness testimony, and then we won that trial. We actually won it twice because they appealed it. We won it in a higher court, and now it's case law in the state of California that yoga can be taught in a secular way.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff Yoga Alliance is doing, which gets me really excited.
That's great. You're helping.
Yeah.
Yeah, helping communities. Let me ask you this. So, like, I think last year you and I crossed paths probably like 10 times, at different cities and festivals. And it's always great seeing you and having our conversations. But you've been you've been a yoga teacher before Yoga Alliance. You've been part of this industry and this whole mindful world. From your viewpoint and really being in the industry and seeing these different legislations and all this stuff that's going on around, like how has yoga evolved? Would you say in the U.S. over the past 10 years? Like what have you seen from say like 2006 to like 2016? What's been the major differences and changes?
It's interesting that you picked that year. So 10 years, right?
Yeah.
I've been, just for background, I owned studios at that time.
Wow.
I opened my own studio in New York City. Actually, technically it was 2007.
Okay.
Turned that into 4 studios in New York, New Jersey, and Maryland. So I've been a part of the scene in that way. What happened is there was a big boom around 2008. With the recession, actually, there was a boom in the number of people that did yoga teacher training. And my own kind of personal theory on yoga teacher training, and again, this isn't a Yoga Alliance, this isn't proven by data, but the data to me suggests this, that we saw this big boom and this huge jump in 2008 in the number of people who took yoga teacher training. And then from 2008 to 2012, we had a huge jump in the number of people practicing yoga. It went from like basically 20 million to 25 million, so 5 million person increase.
And that was because, what you're thinking, because of the recession and what was going on with
Well, I think that like any new thing that's out there, you need a bunch of people that are crazy about it first, like the early adopters, right?
Adopters, exactly.
And when people do a teacher training, they actually spend 200 hours diving into yoga lifestyle, living yoga, breathing yoga, and it's like they're hooked forever.
Yeah.
Right? And they become the proselytizers.
The brainwashing begins.
Yes. But yeah, they change. Their lives change for the better, and it becomes kind of infectious. And now we just did the Yoga in America study in 2016. Yoga Alliance sponsored a study to find out about the it's a study that's been done every 4 years. Originally, it was done by Yoga Journal. This past year, we partnered with them to make sure that it happened. And we found that there's now 37 million Americans practicing yoga.
37 million.
Yeah, so
wow.
it was the increases are kind of starting to get exponential. So we're now at about 10% of the population of Americans doing yoga. And the biggest jumps are in people over the age of 55, huge jump in the older population.
Interesting.
And then another big jump is men, more men doing yoga, where it's typically a female-dominated industry. We went from like 17% of yogis being male to like 28%.
That's pretty good.
And then the other huge stat that I think is really cool from the Yoga Alliance study is the Yoga in America study, is that something like 38% of people practicing yoga have a child under the age of 18 practicing yoga.
Wow.
Now that's a different world.
They're making lineages now.
Well, and just think about the future where yoga is going to go, because have yoga when I was a kid. I'm sure you did. I don't know, maybe you did, but
I was
the
exposed to it, yeah. I didn't do it all the time, but I actually found it in middle school myself. Yeah, go ahead.
wow,
Yeah,
that
but I
actually
didn't know the spiritual element of it. For me, it was like a physical thing. I would go to my basement. I'm like, what are these Indians doing? Why are they like doing all these postures and like I was doing it for like, all right, I'll get strong doing this. It was like a middle school. I used to run around a lot and try to get my abs in shape. And I was like, I'll do these different. I'll do crow pose. That's gonna really help my abs. But anyway, that was like seventh, eighth grade. I found it.
really, and that was
Interesting.
because your family was doing it,
No,
or
not at
your
all. I just, I just was interested in it. I researched it in the libraries, brought books back to the at my home, and just went to the basement and read all about it and started doing it.
really?
Yeah,
Wow. I had
interesting.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's Guide to Modern Bodybuilding.
To pump
That,
you up.
that's right.
That's
But
funny.
I just think that mindfulness, breathing, these kind of practices are a much bigger part of the general zeitgeist,
Yeah,
and yoga is a big piece of that.
yeah.
And yoga is kind of the like the tip of the
Gate
spear.
gateway.
Yeah, it's a gateway to more mindful practices, and
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's fun for people, and it's pretty. So I guess your question over the last 10 years, what I've really noticed is of course, some people will lament like, oh, it's been commodified, and oh, there's corporate yoga and this and that.
Yeah.
But I first of all believe it's always been commodified. It was commodified the moment it came over here, and you know, teachers
Yeah.
started teaching for fees. So at the end of the day, I actually personally believe that this kind of corporate yoga experiment, like Core Power and Yoga Works, and there will be others, that they are bringing great good
Yeah.
to
Thanks
the
for saying
planet.
that. I'm with you.
Yeah, and now, and there's always going to be different levels, and people have to start at somewhere with their
Hmm.
yoga practice. So I think that that has been a huge rise. Core Power went from something like 15 studios to over 100 studios in just the last 3 years. So in the last 10 years, there's been a ton of change, but really the last like 2 or 3 years, there's been monumental change in the industry. And there are some studies that people can check out, like the IBIS World Report, which does a report on the yoga and Pilates industry.
Yeah.
And they say that because yoga is a service-based industry, it is reaching a point where it's certainly not. I wouldn't call it saturated because you've got so much more interest now in
Yeah.
yoga.
The market's growing, so you have to grow with that. Yeah.
Right. So the market is growing, but what happens when the market grows this big is two potential things have to happen.
Hmm.
One, there's going to be plenty of competition, so people who figure out their business models and can make that work are going to thrive, and the ones that don't aren't.
Hmm.
And so I own a small yoga studio now, and
Oh, wow. I didn't know
keep it
that.
a mom and pop kind of operation, but I've learned all the ways to run it as a real business. So I think it's important that it like to 10 years ago, you could have a yoga studio. Like my first yoga studio in 2007, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about business, and we were very successful. And that was because there was no other yoga studios.
The
Or there
only one
was
on the block.
Yeah. So it's just that is not going to cut it anymore. So what's great is, you know, people have to up their game from a business perspective, and really be in integrity with their business if they're running one, or if they just want to teach, hopefully finding someone who can operate the business well and then partnering with them. So those are some of the shifts that I've noticed.
Yeah. And as far as like the future of yoga, we spoke about the growth element of it. We what else like, what would you say the other, because I want to hear from you, like where do you see yoga going? I know it's a gateway, but how do you see it evolving in the US and say like what is it going to look like in 2026, you think, from what we're seeing now?
Again, these are my personal
Yeah,
opinions,
yeah, I
not
want to
Yoga
hear your
Alliance official, said Yoga Alliance said this. No. My personal thoughts are that there will be a movement towards gentler styles.
gentler.
Um, Well, gentler on like the wrists.
Mm.
There's a lot of um, power yoga like that is being done by people without
Interesting.
enough. I mean, depends.
Yeah.
So what's happening is someone like look at Core Power. They're opening up next to every university. They are attracting young people who are much less likely to injure themselves, right? Practicing a vigorous exercise
Yeah.
practice. Um, as those people age and they love yoga and they love the benefits of yoga and are looking for, another practice that's going to suit their body type. And we're already seeing this in the huge population of people over the age of 55. I think that yoga styles or practices that can both invigorate the body but be more gentle on the joints are going to find their way into
That's
kind of
interesting.
the yoga world. I think you're going to see a lot more technology and yoga mixed together.
Yeah. How so?
I've seen a couple cool things. Here's one thing I saw.
Yeah.
Everyone has these headphones on. Did you
Yeah.
see this? Did you
Oh
ever do
yeah.
them?
Yeah.
And
The
what's
music.
amazing about the headphones
Sound off, right?
is that what are they called?
I think so. It's like sound off. Like
Sound
they
up.
have lights on them, and you just put them on. And it started with dancing, but now like yoga classes are happening. I've seen it in New York, Miami. Um,
Right, it shuts the sound off in the outside world.
exactly.
All you hear is the music, and the teacher, even though
Teacher.
she's teaching
Yeah.
50 or 100 people, can just whisper right
Yeah.
in your ear. And it literally feels like the teacher's voice is inside your head. Now, that can be used as a very powerful tool for transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how people use tools like that.
Yeah.
I predict that there will be a ton more yoga in corporate spaces, especially and then in schools. Yoga in the schools is just kind of starting to take off, but I don't know. I go back and forth thinking like yoga is going to be everywhere, and then I ask myself, wait, am I just a yoga file and I think yoga's the
Well,
best?
what about all these? There's a lot of yoga events. It seems like all of a sudden, as well. Like, would you say like obviously in the last 10 years that has exponentially increased with like large organizations like Wanderlust, Yoga Journal conferences, and all the different spin-offs like events that are happening. There's a lot of like franchise models. It feels like of like yoga events as far
Yeah.
as outdoor events and things like that. What do you see as as Yoga Alliance maybe, and then maybe your perspective on like these big events that are happening? Is that the way to go to bring people together, or are there going to be other online modalities and things like that?
I think that yoga will always be a personality-driven industry.
Personality driven.
It's about the student and teacher relationship,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
Jessica Char would
Absolutely.
say yoga is all about relationship.
Yeah.
And what happens at these huge events is that people have relationships with these master teachers. And then they also have this greater relationship with the brands like Wanderlust or Yoga Journal, etc. And what I feel like with these festivals, here are the things I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
The barrier to entry is getting smaller in that it is not as hard to create a festival as it used to be.
Yeah.
So that's why more people are doing it, right?
Yeah.
Also, local festivals have some major advantages because of all their contacts in the local areas. I've noticed, I go to, I went to like 17 festivals last year.
I saw you at them.
Yeah. And, I just came back from Shakti Fest, by the way.
Oh, great.
Which is an amazing festival.
Yeah, I missed that festival. I've been there in 2 years.
But, festivals have always gone on, by the way.
Yeah.
They've been going on for like, probably since the beginning of time, right?
Yeah.
The Kumbh Mela.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not sure if your question is this the way people are going to be connecting or the online? I've seen a lot of online stuff being done recently, like getting 100 amazing teachers together and doing like teleconferences.
It seems like the new thing, like in the last like year or so. I mean, but it doesn't have that personal connection, right? It's just like...
Yeah, no, for me, those things are more for drawing in real total beginners.
Yeah.
Very low barrier to get, they're very cheap. It's $30 to sign up for those conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those things are ways for people who teach in those conferences to then get email lists and market to more people. And
It's more of a marketing element.
there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
They're
that's
great.
good.
I just think that the transformation is very hard to happen at one of those kind of conferences. But do I think it's a good way for people to get introduced to yoga? For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really think that I don't think like yoga studios are going to be gone and people are going to all start practicing online. I don't believe
Okay,
that.
that's good to hear.
I don't think, not for 100 years, because that's not until everyone has a deep enough yoga practice that they just want to practice at home.
It's virtual reality. They just open it up and they're in Nepal on the mountaintop,
That one day, that would be pretty amazing. Well, but actually, you know what I see as a big next step in kind of the yoga world? I see teachers that can create programs that inspire habit change in people. So, because, I talk to like people who own lots of yoga studios and they talk about retention rates and whether they can, whether they can keep people practicing yoga.
Yeah, these are habits, yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about people making certain lifestyle changes that are going to keep them motivated for a lifetime. And if the yoga community doesn't figure out ways to get people to make the right lifestyle changes, and it can be as simple as going to bed earlier, quitting, certain coffee stimulants or alcohol, or lessening those kind of things, or the healthy lifestyle things that we all talk about.
Yeah.
We could talk about healthy things until we're blue in the face. Everyone knows what they have to do. There's a million things online. There's a million pieces of information. How do you create a program or a conference or an experience that actually gets people to change their habits? And I think it's a combination of in-person, online,
hybrid. It's a mix of it, yeah.
Yeah, because that's really if we want to keep people coming back to these, if this industry is going to continue to flourish, that's why teacher training was so effective. You do a 200-hour training, you can really shift your habits in your life. Yeah. And so that's one example, but I really think that there need to be more examples of those kind of programs that can help people make those transformations. And so that's what I would like to see personally. Great. And I think it would just increase the retention rate because, for example, we have 37 million people practicing yoga right now.
Amazing.
Another 50 million Americans said they would like to try yoga this year.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a ton.
That's a ton.
Now, how many of them are going to just like put a YouTube video on and go like, oh, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And then how many of them are actually going to, so there's a certain percentage that are going to do all these different things. And how do we as yoga teachers, as healing arts practitioners, as musicians, how do we create ways for people to walk in and feel welcomed and stay?
It goes back to the relationship, as you said. I think that's it right there. And I know that Yoga Alliance does have a lot of tools and things like that out there. Like, can we chat a little bit about that? Like on your website, and there's a lot of free webinars and things like you guys have all these kinds of,
we have over 50
ways to support teachers, right?
Yeah. We have first of all, for members, teachers, or studio owners who are members or school owners, we have videos that really teach you how to run the business side of your business, and everything from how to create online videos to how to get more clients at your yoga studio to how to run a retreat, how to recruit for a retreat, all those kind of things. We have literally like hours and hours of the best experts in the world on these topics. And that's probably one of the most loved benefits by our members. We have a committee of people who decide kind of what kind of
that's right.
videos we want to be there.
Yeah.
Actually, you're right, because aren't you going to do one at some point?
Yeah, in December with
And
Sadie.
you have to go through a whole committee.
Yeah.
I mean, we really vet people. We make sure that we're giving a lot of value
Yeah.
to our members. So yeah, yogalliance.org.
Amazing.
And then
Yeah, I was going to say, it's yogalliance.org. Any other way to stay in touch?
member benefit, andrewtanner.com.
Yeah, Andrew Tanner.
I'll be launching a new website in August for those who are interested.
Yeah, we'll add those to all the different. This will be video and audio, so we'll have it in different formats.
Cool. A couple other things I just want to share about
Yeah.
Yoga Alliance that we're doing that's pretty exciting in my opinion. We're currently lobbying the federal government for $1,000 a year fitness tax credit, and we're making sure that yoga gets in there.
Wow.
And so that would be huge. That's like a 1-year membership at a yoga studio, right? Another thing that we're working on.
Is it close? Are you guys almost? I mean, is it something that's
it's
looking
literally
good?
It's been in the works for almost 10 years.
What?
Only now am I allowed to talk about it.
Wow.
So that's how it's. So when you ask, is it getting close? Yes. If anyone watches the news, you know our government is a challenging entity to work with.
Yeah.
So these things are part of the long haul. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we're doing a ton of outreach to the non-yoga practicing community. So in June, I'll be teaching a yoga class at Safeco Field at the Seattle Mariners baseball game.
Nice.
We're doing stuff at a lot of. We're just starting to reach out to a lot of professional sports teams.
That's great.
To be involved in getting yoga more out in the general.
Bring out Keith Mitchell. You know, he'd be a great spokesperson with.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I love Keith.
Yeah.
I think you just did a video.
Yeah.
So it's happening. Yeah. I mean, and my big thing to people who are watching this is like, are you ready for this? Because the demand is going to be out there.
It's going to be. I feel like it's this exponential growth that we've been planting all these seeds, and now like the energy is just like ready. It's like it's harvest season is about to come. You know.
Right. Are you ready to serve? Is the question I would ask yoga teachers and other members of this community. And the one other announcement I'll make is that Yoga Alliance in the next couple of months is going to be putting out a registry of continuing education. So any yoga teacher that wants to get continuing ed will be able to look up every continuing ed opportunity in the world, as long as, now for people like yourself, for example, who want to become a continuing ed provider, if you're an expert in a certain field, you can apply to be a continuing ed provider, and then you can list your workshops on the Yoga Alliance registry.
That's right.
And so it'll be a really cool way for just to connect our community, and that's another role.
I remember you telling me about that. That's wonderful, continuing ed. And is there like the committee would just is there a committee or group that looks over all these and then just makes a decision, or anybody can apply?
Anyone can apply. There will be rules and there will be kind of policies around what qualifies someone to be a continuing ed provider and what they're qualified to teach. You know, you could be a physicist, but that doesn't mean you have a PhD. That doesn't mean you're qualified to teach, pranayam.
Yeah.
You know, it's people will be qualified based on their actual expertise.
Yeah.
And they'll submit the actual thing that they're going to teach as part of their application. So we're pretty excited. Our registry allows people to also review the experiences that they get either from a school or continuing ed. So it kind of has that Yelp component to it, except that no anonymous reviews, and it must be verified by that the person actually completed the training. But the purpose of adding that review piece to it is because we want to be a self-regulating body. It allows people to get feedback about their trainings and either make their trainings better, or it gives the public a chance to see, oh, this is a training that has great feedback, and here are all the pros and cons, etc.
Reviews are always good.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, no one's going to get perfect reviews, and that's a pipe dream. But the idea is that people are pretty savvy now. We get it. No one expects you to have all 5s, right, of any review of any product or service. So that's just another thing that we're doing. And I'm probably forgetting about like 50 other things. Oh yeah, we have a foundation, we have scholarships. We're giving out $50,000 this year for people who want to take yoga teacher trainings.
Wow.
And that was last year we gave out 25,000, this year 50. We're increasing it year over year.
That's
So we
amazing.
hope to become the largest provider of scholarships for yoga teachers in the world.
So for all this, go to yogaalliance.org, right?
Yep.
.org, and
Alliance.org.
we'll include the link. And that's the time we have today. Andrew Tanner, thank you, brother, for joining us and representing Yoga Alliance. And I look forward to seeing you probably like another million times this year, which is always great.
Yoga Journal, San Diego.
Yeah, I'll be there Saturday
Awesome.
and Sunday. And
I'm giving a talk there for anyone that wants
Great.
to meet me. And Yoga Journal San Diego coming up in June.
Yeah,
See you soon, buddy.
absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining another episode of Global Purpose Speaks. I'm your host, DJ Taz Rashid. And just a reminder, this talk series is in partnership with Global Purpose Movement, which is a collective of change makers convening and co-creating in the globe's current shift towards a world that's working for everyone. You can join the conversation at globalpurposemovement.com. We'll see you next time. Thank you.